terminate the service to the property. Number 2, the type and location of assemblies to be installed shall depend on the nature of
A D.
D, degree of hazard. Okay. Number 3, it should be assumed that the backflow into the public potable system can occur when higher pressure can be attained in the water user system. That's true. So we can always assume that that customer can put a pump in or put some kind of a pump or electrical thing to push more water back to the water meter. So it's always assumed that the customer can produce a higher pressure. Okay. So the answer is true. Number 4, the first test performed when testing a reduced pressure principle backflow assembly is
This one was tricky. That also tests an APP. That's the first one, but that's not the first test, right? It's the one with the hand. No.
yes.
Right. That's
The apparent is an observation.
Yeah. See, that's
The first test is putting your hand under there, turning the red 1 full turn, turning the low side, the green 1/4 turn.
Yeah.
That's the test. The observation is the apparent reading.
Excellent. So one more time on that.
Sure.
right.
Okay, number 4, the first test performed when testing a reduced pressure principal backflow prevention assembly is D, the relief valve opening point.
Yeah, that's a trick one. That's I put A and D on this little thing.
Okay. The first test. Okay.
So the apparent, the first one that we discussed, that is an
That's an
observation.
observation.
That's why it goes down the comments and doesn't go up into the box.
Yeah,
There's no box for that. It's for the comment area.
Okay. Good one.
Number 5, the number 2 check valve on an RP device must hold.
Left it blank.
Okay, what do we do on our second test?
We check if it's tight or if it's leaking.
C.
On the second check,
Yeah.
we're checking to see if it's tight or if it's leaking.
Yeah.
So the answer is C, tight.
I'm gonna on that. I'm gonna put tight or leaking. Just tight. Okay.
Because
That's
that's
okay.
all that test is
Yeah.
it's tight
Tight. Okay.
or not.
All right.
Well, if you read the actual question, it says the number 2 check on an RP must hold
Oh.
tight.
Okay.
So the must hold is actually telling you what it should be.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, number 6. This is a troubleshooting question. After closing the number 2 shutoff valve while testing a reduced pressure principal backflow prevention assembly, the indicator needle on the test kit drops to the relief valve opening point. You note the relief valve opening point and continue the test.
True.
That is going to be false. And that's something, again, we just haven't gone over yet. This is troubleshooting. This is going to be false. The reason is when you turn off the number 2 shutoff valve, you have the gauge and it's bleeding water. You turn off the customer, and then you turn off the gauge. If that needle starts dropping, that means the number 1 check isn't holding. Okay, you can't continue with any other test unless you're looking for that apparent reading. If that apparent reading goes to 0, it goes to relief valve opening point, the number 1 check's not holding, so you can't perform more tests.
That's what you said. Just stop right there and then open it up and check.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we leave the service side open, but we
You always
close the
number
service
2.
side down,
Yes, to the customer.
but we leave the main water coming in.
That's the shutoff valve. But the check valve is leaking, so the gauge never stops at the apparent. The gauge just keeps going down. So this is when you're trying to get your apparent reading. This is after you bled and you look for your apparent. But if the gauge is falling, that means your number 1 check's not holding. So we can't continue with the rest of the tests at all. Okay, that's what number 6 is all about.
Okay, good one.
Number 7, when testing a backflow prevention assembly, you should try to finish the test before you notify anyone.
That's false.
That's First thing you do, notify your customer that you're going to be out there testing this device and shutting the water off. Answer to number 7 is false. Number 8, when testing a backflow prevention assembly, it is not important to identify the correct assembly. Yes, false again. We always identify. We notify. We identify. Okay, number 9. If the number 2 shutoff valve on a reduced pressure principal backflow prevention assembly is leaking, you may not continue the test.
False.
This is false. Number 9 is false. Again, for troubleshooting, if it's leaking, there is a hose that we bypass from test hawk number 1 to number 4 to, what's the word for that? Satisfy the leak. Okay, so number 9 is false. And we have number 10 on the back.
Yes.
Okay, number 10. You have completed the testing procedure for a reduced pressure principal backflow prevention assembly when you have attained the actual differential pressure across the number 1 check valve.
True.
That's false. The testing procedure, it is true, but you're not finished with the test. You have not completed the test. You need to disassemble your
Disconnect
cable
everything.
and return
Return
service to the
yeah.
customer, and then you are finished
That's true.
with your test.
Okay.
Good, I like that.
Okay?
It's a little tricky, some of them. I mean, we're done with it.
Right. Now, if it said if the final, if the last procedure or the last test that you do is the number 1
Yeah.
check, then that could be true.
Okay.
But
We have to
To complete the
return service back
test,
to the customer.
return the service to the
Yeah,
customer.
Okay, that's okay. I remember that.
And what's the trip is I put that, when you had us do our own testing,
Mm-hmm.
I got that particular. I mean, I even got, disconnect everything, dry out hoses, store all equipment, restore service. So, tricky stuff.
I think I just barely passed. 3 wrong, 10, that's 7%.
Very good. Very good.
I felt more
Okay.
comfortable with this test than the first one.
All right, so definitely study this quiz.
Yeah.
Study number 1 quiz, study number 2 quizzes. We have a couple more quizzes to do. I'll look at the quizzes today and see which ones we'll give to you. I should probably do that right now so we